guys, welcome back to my channel. This week I'm focusing all about foundation. I get so many messages on Snapchat, Instagram about how I do my foundation. So if you want to see all the products I'm recommending and if there's any products that you want to see in action, please keep watching. So first off, I'm going to say a bit about my skin and what I find my problems are. So I have really oily skin. If anyone doesn't know, probably you guys are sick of hearing it, but my skin is so oily, so I always have to make sure that I prime my skin really well and powder really well to make sure my foundation lasts all day. So I'll start off with this. This is a really cheap product. It's from Philips and it's called Milk of Magnesia. It's quite like an old school product. And then also the other primer that I really like is this MAC Skin Refine Zone. I talked about this in my Ride or Die products tag, so I'll link that down below as well. This is a small but mighty product, guys. I think this is a bit stronger than the Milk of Magnesia because this is a lot more concentrated. So if you're going to use a product like this, it's small for a reason, guys. It's in a small tube. That means you only use a small amount of product. Okay, this is like a cheaper alternative. It's not as strong as this one. I feel like this one keeps the oils at bay longer. So I'm going to start off by using the Skin Refine Zone first. I'll just put a little blob on my hand. So I'm going to start off by using this brush from Makeup Forever. It's the 152 brush and it's really soft and I love this for primer. So I use a bit of this and I just literally tap it on and then I just put this in the centre of my skin. Just where I get oily, so mainly in my T-zone. And literally it instantly mattifies. It's also really good if you're a makeup artist and you're working on a lot of men. So on top of the Skin Refine Zone, I'm going to go with the Milk of Magnesia. How I use it is I shake it up. The colour just looks like basically milk. Milk of Magnesia, duh. I put my hand out on top and I just tip it upside down. And then I'm just left with a little bit on my hand. This is enough to do my whole face, so you can imagine that little bottle lasts me for ages. I'm just taking some on my brush. I'm just dusting this everywhere and I'm just dotting it on my skin wherever I get oily. And I also need to do my eyebrows as well because my eyebrows get so shiny. I'm just like pushing it into my pores so that it'll stop that oil from coming out throughout the day. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see, but my skin is already instantly more matte. That's my primer done. Sometimes as well, it depends on what event I'm going to and how I feel that day. I want something that's a bit more like silky because this now is really dry and matte. And if my skin has like dry flakes that day, I definitely need to use another primer on top. So I really like any primers that are really silky, fills in pores. I also like the Benefit Professional, but sometimes I feel like that makes me a bit more oily. So I'm going to use this primer today. This is from Ofra Cosmetics. It's called the Absolute Cover Face Primer. So this primer is really silky. As you can see, it feels quite thick, which I quite like because then it fills in all my pores. So my most problem is here in this area, because I don't know why, I just have freaking massive craters there. So I'm just putting it all over my nose. And this part, basically, if you have any dry, flaky skin or anything, I think you'll like this primer as well because it just glides over that and your foundation goes on a lot smoother. So the other two products makes your skin more matte and then this primer makes your skin more smooth. So it helps more with the texture of your skin. I know it feels like a product overload, but for me, I've got really oily textured skin, so I need to make sure I smooth all those out, baby. Okay, guys, so the next step is foundation, guys, and foundation is the bane of my life. I literally have so many to choose from. All my foundations are medium to full coverage. I do not play. I do not fuck with the light coverage foundations. I need full coverage, medium to buildable, even medium coverage. Sometimes I'm a bit like, I like medium to full buildable coverage, okay? So I'm going to tell you guys some of my favourites. The NARS Sheer Glow is probably my ultimate favourite. This was in my Ride or Die tag. It's honestly like a good all-rounder. It's good for oily skin, dry skin, normal skin, dehydrated skin. It just looks perfect on everybody. I haven't seen anybody that doesn't look good in this foundation. So I use the shade in Stromboli, medium 3, and this is like equivalent to about an MC35 from MAC. Also, one of my go-to foundation is the Studio Fix Fluid from MAC. This is just one of my go-to foundations. If I don't really know what foundation I want, if I'm in a rush and I want something to look really flawless without trying too hard, even without using a primer, I would pick this up if you like a full coverage foundation and a matte finish. It's really buildable as well. It lays up really nicely, where some foundations like the Estee Lauder Double Wear. A lot of people love that foundation, but for me, I cannot build it up. Like one layer, if I build it up, it starts to separate, and like because it sets, I'll put another layer on top and it's just not sticking very well together because the bottom layer is already set. So you have to work really fast with that foundation. Whereas this one, you have a little bit of playtime in between the layers. Next two foundations are better for normal, slightly oily combination skin. So this is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I'm in the shade Sand, and this is a really nice foundation if you have quite dry or dehydrated skin. It's formulated with, I think, coconut water in it, so it makes your skin feel really smooth, hydrated. It doesn't feel drying on the skin. It looks really nice in photos as well. The only thing is it doesn't make my skin matte. Normally I like to mix this foundation in with a longer wear foundation, so like, do you know, I just told you the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I'll put a couple drops in that foundation into this foundation so that I get the best of both worlds. Next foundation is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This is such a famous foundation, guys. It is like notorious. I think Amrezy made it really famous because she loves this foundation. I personally have really oily skin, so I don't really get along that well with this foundation, but it looks amazing in photos and it makes your skin look so flawless. It looks amazing, but within an hour I'm like oil city, so it doesn't really mix well with my skin. Unless I'm just taking like a photo and I'm just going out for dinner, then I'll probably wear it. But a lot of times throughout the day I find my foundation breaks up because obviously it's called Luminous Silk Foundation. Okay, anything luminous is going to make your skin look shiny, and my skin is already naturally shiny, so I don't need extra shine from foundation. So that's why I always choose to go for like semi-matte foundations. But it's a really nice medium to full coverage, and I'm in the shade 6.5. And I'm just going to make a quick mention to this foundation as well for Marc Jacobs. I'm going to shake it up because it separates really bad. This is in the shade 36 Golden Beige, and it's a really nice one because I've tried to wear it on its own, but I find on its own the colour is a bit too pigmented for me. It's really yellow, and I thought I was so yellow, but apparently I'm not as yellow as this foundation. So this foundation is really good if you want like a full coverage. But if you wear it on its own, sometimes if you have oily skin, I find it breaks up just in certain areas. Like on here, I get really bad smile lines from it, and I don't really get smile lines from other foundations. So this one, I don't know why it's giving me some lines, girl. So this is a really good foundation to mix in with other foundations, or it's really good for layering as well. So sometimes if my skin is really bad that day, I'll use like the NARS Sheer Glow, which is like a medium to full coverage, and then I'll put on this as like the topper layer so that it looks so flawless and smooth to block out any freckles, any spots, anything like that. The only thing I don't like about this foundation is that it comes like this, which is really messy. I don't know if you can see, but foundation's just got everywhere. So for today's look, I'm going to use the NARS Sheer Glow foundation in the shade Stromboli again. One pump. The secret to flawless skin is the beauty blender. I have so many beauty blenders, seriously. I've like loads lurking around. I've got like fake products of the beauty blender, but I would highly recommend just to invest in the original beauty blender, because there's so many times I went to like TK Maxx or like Forever 21, and you know when you're checking out you see those beauty blender, the fake ones, and I thought, oh, like it's only £1, I'll just buy it. But you can definitely tell a difference between the good beauty blender and then the fake beauty blender, because the fake ones, they don't expand in water, and even if they do expand, they're really hard. Like this is like so soft, so it makes your foundation really nice and flawless and smooth, which is what you want. If you have a hard crusty beauty blender, it's like freaking using a rock on your face. You want to be like soft, feels like a cloud on your face, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going in with my damp beauty blender. Also guys, when you use your beauty blender, you want to fully submerge it underwater and squeeze it out. Keep squeezing it until the sponge gets big. You don't want your foundation to go deep inside your sponge. That's why you need to fully wet the sponge. Otherwise, your foundation will absorb inside your sponge and then you end up wasting foundation, which ain't nobody want to do because these foundations are expensive, girl. It makes your skin look really nice. It doesn't look too dry, it doesn't look too cakey. I like it. So for me, I suffer from spots, so I've got a lot of like scarring here. Can you see all this like nasty scars? That needs to go, honey. So bye, Felicia. So whenever I see people on Snapchat use beauty blenders, they're like this. No, you stupid. You need to use it like this. You need to tap the coverage on That's how you get the flawless finish. If you swipe, you're going to be basically wiping away all of your primer. You're going to be wiping away all of your foundation, your concealer. No, okay? This is how you use a beauty blender. If you read the instructions that it comes with, it says to dab, 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 okay? You don't want to be swiping. You need to tap it on, and this helps the foundation layer on top of each other. Every time you tap, it layers, it layers. As you guys can see, I'm going over my skin a couple of times because that's how I'm building up the coverage. When people say layer up, a lot of people get like confused about layering. What does that mean? Like, basically it just means you go over one spot and then you apply a bit more foundation and you go over the same spot again, and that helps build the coverage on top of each other so you get a really flawless finish. Okay, so after layering up with the Last Year Glow, I'm going to use the Marc Jacobs foundation that I was telling you guys about earlier. I'm just going to use a little bit on the back of my hand. So I'm using this foundation just where I have a lot of scars and everything. And it just makes it look so much smoother and airbrush, you know? And underneath my eyes. So guys, I know a lot of people, when they do their foundation, they do like a different routine for like daytime to nighttime. But for me, I want to look flawless all the time. So I always go for medium to full coverage. Even when I'm going out, I'm just putting foundation on, I go for full coverage and then a little bit of like blusher. Whenever I do foundations, I never bring the foundation all the way up to my hairline here because I don't like the look of like foundation into your hairline. I find it's really hard to blend out, and I always like it when my forehead is a bit darker because it makes you look more tan. Okay guys, so I just finished off with a little bit of gloss. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. It's quite basic, but I always think it's always good to know the basics, and then you guys can always refer to it whenever you create my future looks. Please make sure to subscribe and comment down below if there's anything else you want to see from me. Make sure you follow me on my social media channels, xThuyLe on Snapchat, Twitter and Instagram. I'll leave all the links down below, and I'll see you guys next week for another video. Bye guys.